Hi everyone, Valerie here. I wanted to speak to you today on some of the things that the grieving family are asked in regards to the death of their loved one. And I've been wanting to speak about this for a while. I actually made a video about this about 3 weeks ago, and I decided not to post it because I felt like I can say what I wanted to say better, and so this is me trying to do that today. Um, I just wanted to share some of the things that people have spoken to me about and have said to me while I was grieving that were really beneficial to me and really helpful and very encouraging. And one of them was right when my mom had passed. You know, a lot of people, they don't really know what to say. And I found that the people who didn't say a whole lot, it meant a lot to me. Like when someone, just a simple "I'm sorry for your loss" was really comforting to me, because I didn't have to answer a bunch of questions. I didn't have to explain everything that was going on. Just the simple fact that they saw my loss and they acknowledged it really meant a lot to me. Another time, a lady just came up to me, grabbed my hand and held it and said, "My condolences," and then just turned and walked away. And that was very impactful to me, because you don't need a whole lot of words and a whole lot of pomp and circumstance to just say, you know what happened is very sad and unfortunate, and I'm really sorry, and my condolences. Just said it very succinctly, and I appreciated that. A lot of times when people are grieving, people will come up to them and say, how are you doing? And I found that a very hard question to answer, because if I said, "Oh, I'm good," I felt like I was lying. But I come to find out that, that's just, they're trying to just see how you are. And a lot of times they may not know how to handle, if you really answer that, like in detail, in depth, how are you feeling? And so I found if I just answered, "I'm okay," and I would say that because I felt like I'm okay at this moment, I'm okay. And, I may not feel okay all of the time, but I've learned that in grief, I could focus on all the bad, and I can say, "Oh, I'm having a bad day today," but I've learned to see it as bad moments in the day. And I'm having a bad moment. I've learned to change how I view the negative part of grief, and the bad, moods, or the grief, the hurting parts of me, and don't let it take up my whole day, because I found that in grief, yes, feel your feelings, and let your feelings be felt. Your sadness, your despair, your loneliness, your abandonment, all that. You can feel all those things, but I've learned that feel them, but then just don't dwell on them. And so when I focus on, no, I'm not having a bad day, I'm having a bad moment, and there are several bad moments in this day, and that's okay, because I know that I'm not always going to feel this way. I know that, yes, grief will always be a part of me, but instead of a stranglehold that grief sometimes has on us, it could just be a gentle hug on other days. And that is how I get through my grief, and how, when someone asks, how am I doing, I can honestly answer, "I'm okay." And then I've learned that even sometimes I can even say, "I'm good," because I have learned to live with my grief and have learned to that the grief doesn't always, it's not always at the very edge of my being or the very forefront of my being 24/7. That I can live with my grief and be okay with knowing that I'm forever changed by this grief, but I can also still smile and laugh and live with my grief. Another part of things to say to a grieving person is, or things not to say, is sometimes if you hear someone has passed, but you don't hear like how they passed, there's usually, some reasoning behind it. And what I would kindly suggest you not do is to ask why, because sometimes the grieving family, they are just not prepared mentally for that kind of a question. And grieving family, if you ever are at a loss of how to answer that question and you don't want to answer it, there is comfort in some boundaries. I've learned boundaries a whole lot in the past few years. And one of them was, I remember personally someone asking me that, and I just told that person, things are really raw right now, and I really don't want to talk about it. And, that person was very gracious and, understood that that was a boundary that I didn't want to cross. And, there are many reasons why someone doesn't want to answer that question. And it's not really, sometimes it's just very painful for that person to talk about their loved one and the circumstances behind their death. And so that is just something that I've learned that I will never ask going forward. I will never ask anybody if I hear someone has passed, if there's no explanation as to why they're passed. I will just accept it. I will purpose in my heart not to ask that question, and just for sensitivity's sake, for their heart's sake, if they want to talk about the circumstances, they will in their own time. And that's what I've learned. That's what my experience has been. So I just wanted to encourage you guys that no matter what, if you're wanting to reach out and be sensitive to a grieving person, that grieving person is going to recognize the sincerity behind that. And if you personally have ever asked me these questions, and I answered in the way that I did today, that I shared with today, don't feel bad for it, because, unless you've gone through grief, you don't really understand the impact that just simple everyday questions have for you, and to answer, how are you doing today? That it was such a hard thing for me to do, because I didn't want to lie, but I didn't really want to share how hard things have been, how hard moments that I've gone through. And so I've learned that saying I'm okay is a socially accepted answer. I don't have to go into detail, but it conveys the message to the person asking that, yes, I'm still hurting, but I'm going to be okay. And there's hope in that. And that everything that I talk about on my channel, I want you guys to know that there's hope in grief. I know I've shared this before. We don't grieve as those who don't have hope. We have hope. We have the hope that we're going to see our loved one again someday soon. And that is what I want to encourage you guys. That's how I get through my grief moments, my bad moments, my my moments of sadness and despair and loneliness is that I know I'm going to see my mom again one day. And that's what gives me hope. That's what helps me go on every day, living this life to the best of my abilities, is to know that all these the grief and the sadness and our troubles, they're all just but a moment in our lives. Another thing that I wanted to mention is that when you come across a friend who is grieving, speaking to them about their loved one is such a wonderful thing to do. Whether it's just a little anecdote or a story or a memory that you remember about them, it's very much, for me, it was very much appreciated. There was not one moment where someone came up to me and told me something about my mom or shared a little story about my mom that I didn't welcome it. I welcomed speaking about my mom, because that's a way to keep their memory alive. And even getting to talk to people who I didn't quite know that well, and hearing the interactions of my mom and them together, and it was just it was so nice, because you have your own memories of your loved one. I have my own memories about my mom. But when I came across someone who had their memories I hadn't known, it's like hearing something new about her that I never knew. And it was a really nice thing to hear. And I wanted to encourage you, if you come across me, and you see me and you want to share something about my mom, I will always welcome that. If you share something with my daughters, I'm sure they would always welcome it too. I know my dad does also. And so I just wanted to encourage you. I know, me personally, I've always worried and been scared to mention a loved one when I see someone grieving. But in my experience, every time I have mentioned something, it's always been met with graciousness and kindness. And me personally, I've always felt like to talk about my mom is a wonderful thing. And to hear stories that I've never heard, or to see pictures I've never seen. I know my extended family reached out and they sent me pictures of my mom when she was younger. And it was just so nice to see. I mean, my mom has a few pictures and I grew up looking at them, but to see her in a different picture or in a different way was really nice. So I just wanted to share that with you. When my mom died, a lot of people reached out, and they wanted to send flowers or plants or food. And my first instinct was to say, oh no, we're fine. And I gotta let you know that if I had to do it over again, I would say yes to all the things, because the handful of people who didn't listen to my no was my best friend. And she came over the very next day and brought like all of Costco with her. I did not realize that my house would be the meeting place for my whole family to assemble. And with that comes, necessities that I didn't even think about. And she brought food, she brought snacks. I think she brought Pollo Loco for us to just, if we were hungry, to eat. Bagels, like wipes, toilet paper, waters, sparkling waters, just anything that you can imagine. And we lived off of that for, days afterwards. And things that when she came in, I think I was talking to one of my siblings or something, so I didn't see everything she brought in. And she stayed for a little while and was my support person when going through all of this. And so she stayed for a little while, and it was days would go by, and I'd discover more things. I'm like, where did we get this? And oh, Sophia brought it. So that was really, really very, very kind, and just such a blessing to our family. And then there were people who brought meals, and people who we did say no to still was like, no, we're going to do it. And one family door dashed food to us, and then sent us groceries afterwards. And one family came and just brought home cooked meal, and asked us what would be a good day to do that. And another family friend just brought us a whole plethora of just food, and just, I mean, our whole family was just so appreciative. And the guys in my family were so, like, they were gung-ho about all that food, so that is one thing that I didn't think that I needed, or that our family needed, but when presented to us was such a blessing. And so I was so appreciative of all of the families that that brought us necessities and food, because I have two brothers and one sister and my dad, and we all have families, and so all of us were here almost every single day for about a week at my house. And it was a blessing to have food delivered and food available for people to, yes, we're grieving, and yes, we're sitting around and we're emotional, but you need to eat too. So that was nice. Another thing that I wanted to mention that was my experience was my sister-in-law said we should make a card box, and for people who wanted to give us cards and stuff. And I didn't really think about things like that, so we made a card box, and when we brought it home, there was a few cards in there. And there was this one, there were a few cards that had a gift in it, a gift card or some cash. And I just wanted to let you know that while giving cash at a funeral is not expected at all, we were not expecting anything like that. One person put $100 in a card for us, and that day after the funeral, everybody came to my house again. And because of circumstance and busy, I hadn't gone grocery shopping or anything, and so we didn't have any food really. And so that cash really blessed us, and my husband and brothers went to Costco and got some tri-tip, and we were able to grill up some tri-tip and feed the whole family on that. And that was just another blessing, and another unexpected blessing to us. And so there are lots of things that you can do for grieving families. I know that because of our experience with people bringing us food, it inspired me and my husband to want to do that for others too. So whenever there's a need, it could be anything, and it made us want to be more giving, and to do unto others as was done to us, because I was so touched by our friends and our families that went out and brought us things that we weren't even thinking of, and it was a really, really sweet gesture. And it was a gesture of love, and love for my mom and love for us, that they wanted to provide for us in that way. So those are just a few things that I think are helpful to any kind of grieving person or family. Just these few things, of course it's what my experience was. And if you guys have any other suggestions, write a comment, or you know share your experiences if you would like to, and just share how people have blessed you while you were grieving, because I feel like you're getting blessed, and there's so much going on. There's so much grief and turmoil, and just a lot of things going on in your head that you may not really realize at that moment are such a blessing, but they really are. And it wasn't until a few weeks, months, even now I think about it, and I think of how much we were blessed during that time, and we may not have communicated it so clearly to our loved ones that we were so blessed by them. So I just wanted to share a few things that anyone can do or say for a grieving family that would be beneficial, it would be helpful, and would be a blessing to them. Lastly, I wanted to just encourage you all that we are all learning, the grieving family, the grieving person, when you've had any kind of loss in your life, that there's no one right thing for everybody, and everyone's different. And I've tried to share my experience, and I'm aware that my experience won't be everyone else's experience. And so I encourage you, if you want to reach out to someone who's grieving, do so in love, do so in compassion. And if they are not as responsive as you expect them to be, give them some grace, because it's hard to go through life without the person that you love, whether it's your mother, father, sibling, husband, wife, children. It's very hard. And it's very hard to navigate in grace. And so the grieving person needs a lot of grace. And I just wanted to encourage you, though, that the grieving person also needs a lot of encouragement and a lot of reaching out and showing that you love them and that you're there for them. And if you're willing to be a support person to the grieving people, I want to say just go for it, because I've been on both sides of that. I've been the grieving person, and I've been a support person, an encouraging person, and that's what I want to be for you all that are watching this. Is I want to be someone that helps and not hurts throughout this grieving journey. So I wanted to leave you with a prayer that my husband has started to pray over me whenever I'm having a bad moment or whenever I'm grieving and I'm just crying and I'm just saying, this hurts, this is hard. He prays this prayer over me, and it's from Numbers 6:24 through 26. And it reads, "The Lord bless you and keep you, make his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. The Lord turn his face towards you and give you peace." So I hope you all have a wonderful day today, and I hope that this has been an encouragement to you, and I will talk to you soon. Bye-bye.